All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining. You're now getting into the second episode, which is so crazy to see. My name's Tony.
Seamus.
And we are the Super Troopers. We have a lot of content and a lot of discussion that we're going to have today, which I'm super excited about. We've done a little bit of research as to what you guys really wanted to hear from us. So today, what we're going to be talking about is this grand discussion around what is a soup.
Yes.
And it's crazy to see, because for me, personally, you would think that it was just one straight answer. But from all the research that I've seen online, from some conversations that both of us have been having with friends and family, it's not really the case. So that being said, I say, let's get down, let's get soupy, and let's just get into it. Moose, how was your week this week?
Week was good. I finished a Avalanche safety training. So if you see somebody shredding in the backcountry in the Rockies, that's going to be my ski partners, and hopefully I'll get tagged in their Instagram posts or something like that.
That's insane. If I can ask just real quick, how long did it take you to get certified on that?
It's like a week. Now that they have to do it online, there's 2 days where you do a Zoom lecture, and then 1 day in the field where you go in and work with a guide.
Do they do like real life scenario situations? That's
Yep.
so sick. Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool. And just based on our teasers that we dropped on Instagram all throughout last week, how has the response been for your family? Have you told anyone? Did you tell anyone last week?
Yes, yeah, I told my whole family. They love the idea. They think it's hilarious. They know that I love soup, so when I told them about it, they were super excited for me, and yeah,
No
a
pun
lot of
intended.
positive feedback from family and friends as well.
Yeah, that's huge. Honestly, this week has been crazy. As a majority of you guys know, this is kind of a startup for Seamus and I. We don't really know how to do the audio and video bit, and so all last week, that is kind of what I was playing with, is how do I do interludes? How do I do voiceover video type transitions? It's crazy. Podcast video things are just crazy. And the liking from family and friends has been huge. The teasers have been hilarious. No, Kim Kardashian did not post our ad. I had a friend out in Montreal do that ad for us as a joke. And I think it's going to be a running joke. Like every week he's like, I'll produce something for you guys to put online. We'll put your tag on LeBron James's jersey or whomever it may be, just as some shits and giggles kind of deal. So, which is really wicked. Did you have any soup this week by chance?
Yeah, my mom tried to make a hamburger soup, and it turned out to be just a potato soup with ground beef in it. So, which is fine. I love potato soup. It was great. It was delicious. But that's probably the highlight soup of the week for me. Okay. What about you?
Actually, the other day have you ever heard of mama soup? You must have. What? You've never heard of mama soup? Okay.
No.
This is why we're doing this. This is awesome. And this is also why we're having an Irish background guy with a Filipino girl, and somehow this is going to collide. This is mama soup. You've never seen this? You've seen this.
Okay, I've seen it, but I've never had it. No.
Oh my gosh. So there's different variations of this soup. There's standard chicken, which a majority of many Filipinos know about. That's like the go-to soup as a kid. This one's the tom yum version, and I'm a huge fan. And I think when it comes to ramen packs, and hopefully we do a segment around it, there's so much you can do than just boiling it, putting the broth in and calling it a day. I literally had this. I cut up some Chinese cabbage. I threw in some Korean wontons, and I literally had that for, I think, about 2 days straight. So this is seriously good stuff, and I'm surprised you've never had it. So I'm going to have to make sure that we get it out to you to taste, because it's so good.
Yeah, well, I'll definitely have to try it. I'm excited.
Oh my, I'm surprised Bernadette didn't even like that. Okay, anywho, that's another segment, another time. Okay, well, let's talk about what the topic is for this week. What is a soup? In your opinion, how would you define what a soup is?
Yeah, so first sort of gut response, I think is something, with a stock or a broth. and then some sort of filling, vegetables, meat, maybe some carbs like a pasta or something like that. And then if you start thinking a little bit harder about it, do you think, well, there are chowders, there's gazpacho, cold soups. And honestly, the more I thought about it, the more confused I got, Tony. So I'm hoping you can help me out today, because I was thinking about it, not doing too much research and reading, and I'm lost.
It's a rabbit hole. I'll tell you that much. It seems like a lot of people can't agree. But if I were to just pull the definition of what a soup is, it really is a combination of ingredients cooked in a liquid. Okay. And when it comes to the liquid, that's kind of the main delivery of ingredients. Meaning, if you were to taste the liquid, you know right away what what the star of the show is, right? So if you had, let's just say, like a chicken noodle soup, you would know without even tasting the noodles or the carrots or the chicken, just from the broth, you would know that it's chicken noodle. Or if you did a tomato soup, same situation. What's cool too is, and you mentioned it, is this whole broth factor. There does need to be some sort of broth in it in order for it to be a soup. However, there's a lot of people who've said they use broth in things like their chowder, their chilies. So perfectly defined from Webster's dictionary, they literally say that it is just ingredients in liquid. Now, let me ask you then, okay, if that's the case, and you had mentioned that there's a liquid element, would you say that chowder is then a soup? Because you said it in your list. Would you say it
Yeah.
is?
I would go with yes. I think so. I think if you think about like something cooked in a liquid, then it has to be like, it's if the broth has just been thickened with something, I think that would still qualify as a soup.
See, and I 100% would agree with that, because any kind of chowder for me would, like, you see it in a menu, you see it on like Campbell's aisle in the grocery store. It's all under soups. But believe it or not, that's the one that a lot of people are kind of iffy about. They think that it is a soup when in actuality, it is almost coined as a stew. So it's like a completely different realm again, right? It's not a
Yeah.
soup. It's more of a stew. It's traditional chowders are more like a stew, but if we were to add water to it and make it a little bit more on the lighter side, then you would almost coin it more of a soup. So I guess really for, is chowder a soup? I would say depending on where you get it from. If you were to do like a true New England type of chowder, it's more of a stew. If you look more, let's say west, we'll go more West Coast. I find that a lot of the chowders that you see in places like British Columbia, down the coast, they're a little bit more on the runnier side. So it's like, it's crazy to think that like there is that gray area. Then it jumps into stew. So is it, in your opinion, is a stew a soup?
I don't know. Initial reaction is no, but again, like if it's just something cooked in a liquid, if you're adding water to the sauce, it's hard to say no.
It's and I'm full tilt in agreement. No, I don't think a stew is a soup. And thank goodness online, a lot of people actually agree that stew isn't a soup. And the reason for it is because it is a little bit more heartier. It is a little bit more thicker than just your standard soup. And yes, the components of a stew does, like, you do need to have water in it, but it's just to to coat or cover the actual ingredients that you're cooking. So when you stew something, it tends to sit a little bit longer. It's a low simmer type of setting when you make a beef stew, we'll just say. And that process actually makes the water into more of a gravy or stew style. So no, to simply put, stews are not soups, period, at all.
Okay. Right.
So that at least we got somewhere.
Cleared it
But
up a little bit. Yeah.
a little bit, just a little bit. But we actually asked our audience, our listeners, our followers, what they thought, and we threw out this idea around chili. So, in your words, would you say chili is a soup?
I don't know. I would say it probably depends on who makes it. I've seen some university guys make a chili, which is essentially just ground beef and kidney beans, and I would say that's not a soup.
No.
But then I've seen some soupier ones with like a lot of sauce, and it's essentially like it's the meat is being cooked in that liquid. So maybe yes, sometimes.
Maybe, yeah. So I would say that a chili is more of a stew. When you put, I don't know if you've noticed this, but when you eat chili, not fresh, like you let it sit for about a day, it actually tastes better the following day versus right off the hop. And that's because it's doing that motion that stews are about. It's stewing, it's simmering, it's getting all the flavoring into the meat, into the beans and all of that, that it makes it more of a stew. But in this, when we asked everyone on Instagram what they thought about chili, is it a soup? It was almost a landslide of no, but I just wanted to pull up some of the things that people were saying, which just made me laugh. So, someone had said, no, it should be thick enough to eat with a fork. So, shout out to Big Sean. He literally said, if you can't eat it with a fork, it's not a chili. So then at that point, if that chili is a little bit more on the watery side, then we can probably say that it's more of a soup. Then I would just say chili soup at that point, right?
Okay.
Another person said it's not made from a broth. So absolutely no. Chunk to liquid ratio equals no go. This person had said it's in the soup section at Tim Hortons. So pretty self-explanatory.
Wow.
At that point, he thinks it's a soup.
Tim Hortons taking a strong stance there.
Very strong. Like, that's saying a lot, okay? Because let's face it, you go to Tim Hortons, that board, that digital board doesn't hold a lot of room. So I don't know if you're going to put chili in its own subcategory, but yeah. Anywho. Someone had said, chili is a stew. Stew isn't soup. Soups are broth focused. Stews are usually meat and ingredient centric. So I 100% agree with that. This one I absolutely love. You absolutely cannot put soup on a hot dog. You can put chili on a hot dog, but you 100% cannot put soup on a hot dog.
That's true.
So I think that kind of sums it up. Someone had said, for the people that said yes, someone had said, served warm, it's typically wet. It's usually in a bowl and eaten with a spoon. And I just thought, if your life is around eating your main meals out of a bowl, then is the argument that you can't eat chili off a plate? Because you can technically eat chili off of a plate.
Well, what about something like oatmeal? You pour the hot liquid in, it's served wet, warm, eat it with a spoon from a bowl.
Is that soup?
So would they consider that a soup as well?
Who knows, right? And if this was you that had said this comment, please let us know if you think oatmeal is a soup, because the more liquid you add into it, I guess it could become a soup, right? So yeah, that was interesting to see. I think if we were to think about soup and stews, soup and chili, there's a lot of gray area. And I think that's the reason why you and I like soup, is because it's just so versatile. If you added water to something, you would coin it a soup, right? So I would say, to set the record straight, stew, not a soup. Chili, not a soup. And actually stated by the International Commissions of Chili, it's not a soup. It actually is a subcategory of its own.
Wow.
Chowder, still on the fence. Soup, out in the West, more of a stew out in the East, just depending on where you are.
Wow.
Crazy.
Right. Yeah.
I think, yeah, just to wrap my mind around that is just crazy. But the next thing that we wanted to kind of talk about is temperature. Now, for you, when it comes to soup, do you usually have it hot or cold? Or can you have soup hot or cold? What do you think?
I love soup when it's hot. I like essentially all foods when I'm hot. My roommates from physio will know this. Like when I make tea in the morning, it's straight out of the kettle into the cup, and then I'm drinking it like within 2 or 3 minutes of the tea steeping. Like I want it boiling hot. Same thing with soup. But that doesn't mean that I don't think you can make a soup cold. I don't know if I would enjoy it.
Preference, right? And
Yeah.
I would have to agree with you. I'm the same level. Teas, soups, it has to be hot. And I think it's that level of feeling of like nourishment, of warmth, of almost like love in a bowl, right? Like it just hits you in a different way than having something cold. And I agree with you. Like there's definitely, I'm not saying that you can't make soup cold. There's definitely ways, and people who actually make soup cold, like what's it, gazpacho, the Spanish cold soup, that's well known, or even bisque. I had read that bisque usually is served at room temperature, or if you're getting more of a dessert bisque, which again is a type of soup, it's tends to serve a little bit on the cold side. So again, let us know what's your preference when it comes to having soup. Do you like it hot? Do you like it cold? Does it not matter to you? Because we'd be interested to know what your thoughts are on that. So yeah.
Could be related to where we are too. It's cold 8 months out of the year here, so that comfort factor. You come in after a nice walk home in the cold, and you make a nice warm bowl of soup that
It's just
slaps.
it hits a different way.
Yeah.
But it's good that you brought in geography, because we do live in a little bit more of a colder area, so soup does hit us a little bit differently. But it's crazy to think too that in a lot of Asian cultures where temperature we know is hot usually throughout the entire year, their main dishes are soup based. So again, would be really interested to see what our listeners think when it comes to these two different topics. Let us know again in Instagram, or just directly to us, DM us about A, how would you define a soup? And B, do you like your soups hot or cold?
Yeah. Let us know.
Yeah. All right. This week we had a couple of listeners ask us a couple questions that we needed to kind of iron out a little bit. So I'll get right into what they were saying. Actually, we're going to call them the coops. So coops, yes. So questions from our troops. Coops.
Got it.
Okay. So the first coop that we have is, what would you say is your favorite soup?
My favorite soup. I have to go with my grandma's turkey soup. That was, the nostalgia with it, the like eating it growing up, like, that kind of whole thing around. You grew up with it, and it's just like it introduced me to the world of soup. It was so good. It was the only way I used to eat broccoli. Like there was broccoli in there. Even despite that, I loved it. So I'd have to go with grandma's turkey soup.
Okay, awesome. That sounds freaking awesome.
It's great.
I'm gonna have to say for mine, I can never say no to like a Thai coconut based type soup ever.
Wow.
Like you bring me that's what I'll eat. You bring it to me for a whole week, that's what I'll eat. The ginger that's usually in it with the coconut milk, you can throw a variety of different mushrooms or chicken into it. It's just killer. And I absolutely love that type of realm of soup. So that's what I would say is my favorite soup. Awesome. Next question is, anyone else in your family loves soup as much as you?
I don't know if I can say as much as me, but my whole family loves soup. Like I was messaging all my siblings about it. Actually, when I told them about the podcast, I was asking them like their favorite soups, and they had trouble giving me just one. And so that'll tell you a little bit about it. And And my parents are the same. They love soup. Whenever my dad is off work and he has the chance to make himself a lunch, it is soup with crackers and fruit, and he'll just mix up the soup. But yes, big soup family. Maybe that's where I get it from. Maybe it's genetic.
Oh, cool. For me, huge soup family. And again, I think it's a cultural background thing. A majority of our Filipino soups are heavy on liquid. So from things like nilaga to sinigang, like heavy on soup. So my brother absolutely loves soup. I too would have to say that we're a heavy soup family. Even when any of us are sick, we tend to go towards something called arroz caldo, which is more of a porridge. My mom tends to put a little bit more water in it to make it a little bit more soupy. But yeah, I would say likewise with yours, my family very much into soups. How often are we looking to drop episodes?
Episodes will be dropped bi-weekly, every 2 weeks on, what are we saying, Thursdays? We'll be dropping it on Thursdays.
You got it. So if time permits, that is the schedule we're looking to do. Every Thursdays, you guys will be able to cue into a new episode, and we'll have something ongoing for you guys. Got to keep it consistent, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then next, last but not least, is what are you expecting to do for the next episode?
The next episode, we are going to do a little segment we're going to call Soups of the World. We're going to pick a soup, give a little bit of a history of the soup in that region, kind of the cuisine surrounding it. Maybe try one and give you guys a little review, and then talk about what goes into it, and then any memories we have of trying that soup.
Cool. Do you think it's going to be a reoccurring type of segment?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's going to be something we go back to over and over again, trying different soups, different regions, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think, you nailed it on the head. Expect to see Soup of the World in this podcast and in these videos. So it should be a good time. But all right, I say we leave it at that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We absolutely love seeing your guys' engagement in our social media. Again, this really wouldn't be possible unless we saw you guys like or subscribe onto our videos. When we started this thing, we were like, oh, if only our parents listen in, and, Bernadette listens in, a couple cousins, and we're set. But now it's turned into, shoot, we have listeners from Honolulu all the way through to the UK, which is just mind blowing. So with that being said, you guys, thank you guys so much for joining. Stay soupy, stay safe. We love soup. We obviously love you. Thank you for listening, and you'll see us at the next episode.
Yeah. See you, everybody.